Hello, Jiu-Jitsu nerds. It is the final live chat before the biggest weekend in submission grappling history. And joining me is, of course, our BJJ encyclopedia and your favorite Jiu-Jitsu nerd. We have a lot to talk about. Yes, we're going to give the giveaway. I think I'll save that for a little later in the show because some of you broke motherfuckers really want 2 free tickets and don't want to just buy for some charity. Gosh, so rude. Anyway, Matt, how you doing?
I am doing excellent. I am super excited. This is arguably the biggest week in grappling history. So I'm really excited to look at these brackets. I actually haven't made any predictions or anything, so I will do my predictions on your show, and I'm going to stick to these.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that you would have posted a podcast breakdown by now because I low-key listened to that and I take some notes. I do want to get your take on where were we? Roberto Jimenez versus Levi Jones Leary. I feel like everyone's talking about Andrew Tackett and Nikki Ryan, but I feel like that matchup between Roberto Jimenez and Levi is very, very exciting. So what are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, so Levi is a specialist, and he specializes in the outside de la Hiva and particularly entering into those berimbolo positions. We saw him beat Joseph Chen at Polaris. Joseph, one of the favorites coming into this bracket, and he beat him with that berimbolo style game. Now, Roberto also, though, is very, very good at berimbolo. So I think a lot of people are really, really interested in seeing the counterattacks of Roberto. And the thing about Roberto is he's super unpredictable. I could see, honestly, Roberto being a dark horse and winning this whole bracket, but I could also see Levi Jones Leary beating him in the first round by leg lock. And so he is the ultimate, who knows what Roberto we're going to get. But I completely agree with the unpredictability of Roberto. And obviously, Levi being super sharp in one particular game. You talk about styles clashing. That is probably the biggest style clash in this entire first round.
Yeah, definitely a fun style clash. I've seen some of their interviews. They both have similar personalities, though. They're both kind of stoic and chill. I asked Levi how he would describe his game, and he's like, my personality and my game is very eclectic. You can expect the beribolos. So I'm excited to see how that matchup works out. But when we look at the rest of this, let's add it to the stage. We go down this list. Lucas Barbosa versus Kenta. I know some people were happy about this because they didn't want like Kenta or Nikki to face off first round or another B team like Joe Chen. So what is your thoughts on this matchup between Lucas Barbosa and Kenta?
Honestly, I think the B team guys outside, I mean, Joseph obviously has a win over Andy, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a second, but you brought up Andrew Tackett and Nikki Ryan and then Lucas Barbosa versus Kenta. I mean, we could see both those guys go out first round. We could see both B team guys lose. I mean, Lucas Hulk Barbosa is going to be a problem in this bracket. And Kenta's super tough. He brings a very wrestling heavy style. He's very difficult to submit, but I just can't imagine that he has an advantage over Lucas Hulk Barbosa. I think this is going to be a very hard fight. Both these guys are probably going to get a little bit bloody. We're going to see a lot of hard collar ties. It's going to come down to who can get the takedowns. But I give the advantage to Hulk. I think Hulk moves on, and I think he is going to be a problem for this bracket.
And when we look at when Craig was giving his breakdowns of everything, he has a very less professional way of breaking things down. But let's take a look.
Thanks for this shit. Honestly, this is making me reminisce of Gabby's mouth at me one time. Iratola, Jason Nolf. I mean, there's no easy opponent in this entire thing. 66 trials winner, 77 trials winner, holds a victory over that little piece of shit, Joseph Chen, and he should remind him of it every day. This is a guy that when we said, what would you spend $1 million on, he gave probably the poorest financial recommendation you could have in history, and that was to buy a Lamborghini. That's Andy Varela. I don't know how to describe this man without sounding bitter because he's beaten me, but he does look like the man in Men in Black that gets his head shot off and his head grows back. One thing I do know is if this guy asks to borrow something and go to the bathroom, you will never see him again. And that's Tommy Langaker. Wait, let me really pound this one. Majid, hey. His only concern was if he could wear a t-shirt. And I was like, of all the things you could ask me, many people ask me for more prize money, more show money. They say, give me more show money. Majid, all he wanted was to know that he could wear his t-shirt.
Very on brand of Majid to want to wear that t-shirt there. But like you said, Kenta had a big win over Joe Chen. Joe Chen just beat Andy Varela at main character jiu-jitsu. I'm not going to lie. I didn't want to see this rematch right in the first round. I wanted to see Andy Varela versus Jason Nolf, or even like a Cade or something, or a Anato. So that was the only first round matchup that I didn't really like, but everything else I'm 100% a fan of.
I completely agree. It is tough. These guys just fought. And it was one of those moments where the guy who was the scientist who was putting the names up on the board for that show, he is one of our blue belts here, and he's Brandon's new camera guy. And he was like, I just had a feeling when it came down to, because Joseph was one of the top 4 seeds, he was like, I just had a feeling. I had my hand on the Andy. So I can almost just blame him for maybe just already having the hand on Andy's name too soon. But yeah, I mean, Joseph had a pretty decisive win. Obviously, Andy is an absolute killer. And who knows on any given day, but I would have liked to seen, I mean, Andy versus Jason was a good one. I would have liked to seen Andy go against like a Tommy Langaker. I don't know. It just seems like this is happening a little too soon right afterwards. But if that's what we're complaining about, if that's the one we're like, oh, I don't know, that's like the one first round matchup I wish was different. It's like, damn, we all are winning.
Yes, this bracket, like Style Jiu-Jitsu says, is too stacked. You can't lose any way you go. I got so excited about Roberto Jimenez versus Levi Jones-Leary. I forgot to touch on Tai Ruotolo and Jason Nolf. And I know a lot of people were kind of hyping up the wrestlers for this rule set, but I kind of feel like the majority of people are looking at the wrestlers as the underdogs. So what is your take on Tai Ruotolo versus Jason Nolf in this first round?
You know, Jason Nolf's one of the best wrestlers in the world. You know, we talked about him a couple of shows ago when I mistakenly said that he was on the Olympic team. My bad. He did, though, be one of the GOATs, one of the guys who's probably on the Mount Rushmore of American wrestlers, and Jordan Burroughs. He's a guy who has competed in some jiu-jitsu tournaments. I believe he's competed in 1 or 2 jiu-jitsu tournaments. He doesn't have a lot of experience, but Tai Ruotolo versus Jason Nolf is a dream matchup. But a lot of people are intrigued by the wrestlers, but we've seen so many wrestlers, D1 champions over the years, go into the ADCC trials, and none of them have fared well just in the trials. I would be shocked if Jason Nolf beat Tai Ruotolo. I know that's obviously a little crazy to say just because, again, he just beat Jordan Burroughs, but it's a completely different sport. I just think the submission prowess of a Tai Ruotolo is going to be too much for Jason Nolf, especially if he can get him into a position where he's put him on his back, or if he can scramble to his back. I don't see how Jason Nolf survives.
And Baby Lilium in here saying Tai by Darce or rear naked choke. Yeah, I definitely am excited to see Tai challenge himself and wrestle with Nolf. But I definitely am going to guess that the nod goes to Tai. And I can't make any official picks here because I'm on the broadcast. But Nolf has been training with Isaac for a while now, who competed against Tai not long ago. Good guy to game plan with. This is very true. I know Isaac will be in the corner for Friday, but not Saturday because he's going to be competing at ADCC. So that is a dedicated friend right there. You know, cornering you on Friday when he has the biggest tournament of his life the next day.
Yeah, that's been a pretty cool bromance to see develop. And I know I just saw Isaac saying that his favorite experience so far in being stateside has been training with the Penn State guys. I think this helps. I'm more excited to see Isaac. Like, I think Isaac is a huge player to win his ADCC bracket. Again, I just think Jason's probably a little too out of his depth, especially if he starts getting into some of the leg locks. You got to remember with Tai Ruotolo, he broke one of the Miao brothers' knees at 16 years old. That was years ago. Obviously, Cade beat Mika in the finals by heel hook. Like, those two guys are elite level leg lockers, even though we all know them for their chokes. And so if it comes down to it and they have to get into the legs, the Ruotolos can finish you there as well.
Yeah, the Ruotolos are strong all the way around. I don't know if any of you guys have been watching Flow Grappling's Roots docu-series, but it is such a great storytelling piece on both of those two. Before we get to the other side of the bracket of the most stacked division in jiu-jitsu history, we did talk about giving 2 tickets away. So I have here, I think I know how to share my screen. All right. Spin the wheel of names. I see a few people that were in this. Do you guys see my screen? Do you see it, Matt?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. All right. Moment of truth. I think I just clicked this. Okay. Go. Who's going to get to go to CJI for FREE? Oh my gosh, it's Egghead Warrior. I don't think Egghead's going to be here. Okay, we'll do a backup plan in case he's not here. All right. I also don't think Egghead is in this chat right now. All right, Egghead's our #1 winner. Luckily, I have the connect in case we need 4. And 1401 Joe. Wait, you guys couldn't see the screen? Where? You guys couldn't see it? Okay, well, basically, someone with the username 1401 Joe won the tickets. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Hopefully you guys saw that. It recorded either way. I'll make the announcement on social media too. And when are Craig and Gabby fighting? So all the super fights are going to be on Saturday. Alliteration Saturday, super fight Saturday. Mackenzie, Fionn Saturday as well. And then the semifinals and finals on Saturday. And yes, that live chat was from the giveaway was from last live chat. So all those names in the raffle commented on the last live chat post. So I will get in touch with 1409 Joe. If I can't find him, and also Egghead doesn't want the tickets, we will spin the wheel one more time. Okay, now back to the most stacked bracket in jiu-jitsu history. 2022 ADCC champ, surprisingly not the #1 seed for CJI. He came in #2 behind his brother, is facing off against a 2019 99 kg ADCC champ, Mateus Denise. What do you think about this matchup?
I mean, this is a crazy one. Flow Grappling just released a video of Yuri Samois, and Yuri is obviously fighting Gordon in the main event. But I say that to say Mateus Denise has been his main training partner. So we had Mateus Denise and Yuri Samois going at it for months now. Mateus looks all of 200 pounds. I still have no clue how he's going to make this weight. Cade, a natural athlete, looks every bit of a natural athlete. And I'm going to be blown away, though, if Mateus Denise can beat Cade Rotolo. I think Cade is going to out-cardio him. I think Cade is going to end up finding a submission on the almost impossible to submit Mateus Denise. I just think he's going to be more active. He's going to have 15 minutes to wear down Mateus, and I think he gets the job done.
And I'm sorry, did you say you think he gets a submission?
Yeah, I do. I think he's going to submit Mateus Denise.
Wow, yeah, there's definitely going to be a speed advantage in Rotolo's favor. But I'm excited to see what Mateus can do. I think that's an awesome first-round matchup. Spoke to Mateus for pre-fight interviews, and he's like, I knew I was going to have to fight the Rotolos, at both of them at some point, so getting one out of the way first day, second next is ideal for him. So great first-round matchup. Anato Canuto versus Tommy Langaker. Rematch. Their match was in one championship. Anato at first wasn't super excited about it. Now he's kind of like, actually, yeah, it's good. I want this one back. And this is going to be happening in the first round. Another rematch.
And this is going to be a close one. I mean, Anato is super, super dangerous. He can get a submission from anywhere at any time with those flying submissions that he likes to pull off. But I just think Tommy's a little better. I think Tommy's a little bit more he's just a little bit more sound. He doesn't make any mistakes. Tommy's super, super tough to pass. We obviously saw Joseph Chin beat him at the ADCC trials. But outside of that, I mean, Tommy has been on an absolute tear recently. I think he beats Anato Canuto, and I think we'll see him versus Cade Ruotolo in that second round.
Yes, figuring out which ways the quarterfinals is going to go is going to be so spicy. Majid Hage, though, is someone that a lot of people have been counting out and kind of been questioning why he's even in the tournament. I'm like, damn, haters gonna hate. Majid has some awesome highlights. Okay. And also another thing to consider is people that were invited to this event are people that bring the excitement. So just because you have like a really long winning record or something, if you're a boring fighter, you probably weren't on the top of the list to get invited. And we know Majid has a big fan base. So he's going up against Owen O'Flanigan, who's one of the bigger guys in this under 80 kilogram division. I'm not super familiar with his game, though. So can you tell us a little bit about it, Matt?
I mean, it is crazy when people are like, Majid Hage, like he doesn't belong in this division. That's how stacked this is, because Majid is very, very good. But I do have to agree with the people somewhat. I don't think he stands a chance against Owen O'Flanigan. Owen O'Flanigan is an absolute killer. Flanigan is one of the most dangerous guys in this entire division. He is a leg lock specialist. He has some of the best leg locks in the world. We saw him make it to the top 4 of the last ADCC in the 88 kilogram division. There, he was the star of the show. He was the Craig Jones of 2022 in his first 2 days, taking out a who's who of guys. I mean, he almost tapped Shanji Aberio. His match against Shanji is one of my favorite matches that happened at this past ADCC. Obviously, he ended up getting tapped out by a counter leg lock from Giancarlo Bodani, and then his leg was really messed up going against Wagner, and Wagner ended up getting that straight ankle lock. But anyways, I say all that to say Owen O'Flanigan is a player in this division. You cannot count him out. I think he gets a probably first round in that first 5 minutes leg lock victory over Majid Hage.
Wow, very specific prediction. I like it. When you end up being correct, I will splice them together just so people can know. The BJJ Encyclopedia knows his shit. And then last, but certainly not least, Andrew Tackett versus Nikki Ryan. I know it's more ideal to have a first round matchup be not your hardest match or like a warm up. But obviously these two do not get that luxury. And it is a matchup that the whole jiu-jitsu community has been wanting for a very, very long time. So Andrew Tackett, Nikki Ryan, who's your pick?
I think this is a horrible matchup for Nikki Ryan. I really do think so. Andrew Tackett, of all these guys, he's probably the dude that has maybe the best cardio. It's probably him or the Ruotolos. And Andrew Tackett has shown that he can break just about anybody in the world. And what have we seen from Nikki Ryan when he loses? He gasses out. And I know with Dima being at B team now, and we've all been watching the training that they've been doing over there, and a lot of people are very excited to see Nikki. And I'm intrigued as well. He's obviously coming off that win over JT Torres. But Andrew Tackett's a whole nother level. He is a completely different beast. And I think his cardio is just going to be too much. And I think it's going to be one of those where in the first round, it's super competitive. If Nikki doesn't get the submission in the first round, I think by the third round, we're all going to be going, oh no, it's not Nikki gassing out again. And it reminds me a lot of that Anato Canuto match last ADCC. Nikki Ryan in the first 5 minutes were all over Anato. He took Hanato's back. He looked really, really good, but gassed out, ended up losing, I think it was 4-0 on points. So I expect kind of the same thing. I think this is a very, very good technical matchup. I really do think it comes down to Andrew Tackett's cardio advantage over Nikki Ryan's.
And the Tackett brothers are currently here in Las Vegas, getting acclimated to that Vegas weather. And they have been the most proactive when it comes to preparing for the rule set. Obviously, they had the most time to prepare, considering they were the first 2 athletes added to the CJI. And I do know that Andrew Tackett was coming off of that big back injury recovery that he was doing when he got injured against PJ Barch. Was it at main character jiu-jitsu?
It was at WNO.
Oh, it was at WNO.
Mm-hmm.
And recovering from a back injury is definitely very tough. But he seemed to have recovered very well because he came back and won ADCC trials from his first competition back. So do you think any of those injuries come into play, like with having so many matches to get to the top, to the $1 million? Because back injuries, I feel like once that starts to trigger in a tournament, it could really throw you off.
Oh, yeah, you're completely right, especially when we're talking about 4 matches over 2 days. Now, if it was just 2 matches, like we're talking about a round robin type format where, you know, you've got the semifinals and then the finals and it's in 1 day, you can really try and make it through. But if he has, let's say him and Nikki Ryan have a war and then he goes against Owen Flanigan, and Owen's a bigger guy and he has another war with Owen going into day 2, I mean, how is he going to feel? How is that body going to hold up? Now, obviously, the trials are one of the most grueling brackets that a competitor can compete in, especially to win. I mean, he had 6 or 7 matches. I like to think that he's going to be healthy and ready to go, but it definitely, I mean, him and his brother kind of do have some injury concerns. They both pulled out or just both had some injuries in the past. And yeah, when you're looking at both these brackets, the Tackett brothers could be susceptible to an injury.
And I know you have a hard out in about 4 minutes, Matt. So we're going to get to this over 80 kilogram division while we still got a little time. Okay, yeah, first round, Nicky Rod versus Max Jimenez. Easy work? Or do you think this could be a surpriser? Because Max Jimenez had a great performance against Big Dan in the Karate Combat Pit, has that 45 angle experience. So what's your take on this one?
Max is never going to be an easy out, but I do think Nicky Rod does get the victory in this. I mean, I think looking at both these brackets, we have some really interesting matchups. I know you love that Pat Downey versus Luke Rockhold in the bottom left corner.
I do.
I love any match with Daniel. I love that Daniel Kirkfleet match against Felipe Andrew, a true like wrestler versus jiu-jitsu. Because with Nolf, he's done a lot. Like you said, he's been training with Isaac Michelle. He's been training jiu-jitsu. Jason Nolf's trained with the B team guys before. He has done a lot of training with jiu-jitsu guys. Nobody knows what Kirkfleet's going to look like. Talking about a world champion in Felipe Andrew versus Daniel Kirkfleet. That's the one I'm most excited for. But when I look at this bracket, I don't see a lot of the same potential of the crazy dark horse coming through. Do you? Is there any, like, when you look at this, I mean, it just kind of seems like it's going to be kind of chalky. Like we're going to see the favorites move on until we get to the finals.
So because everyone is saying that it's going to be Nicky Rod and Victor Hugo in the final, it makes me feel like something crazy is going to happen, and that's not going to be the final. Because whenever everyone says the same thing, I feel like it just causes this energy in the world that causes it not to be that. But I have no idea who would come up on top, but I'm ready for things to get shaken up. I know a lot of hardcore MMA fans are like rooting for Luke Rockhold. I think he could get past Pat Downey. But I guess we'll just have to find out on this one, because the over 80 kilogram division is definitely stacked, not as stacked as under, but still going to be a fun time.
Well, when I look at the left side of the bracket, I just can't imagine Nicky Rod losing to any one of those guys. He's going to beat Max Jimenez. He's definitely beating Owen Livesey, Muhammad Ali, Adam Bradley, and Kyle Bain. He's taking both them out. In this rule set, he's going to beat all those guys. So if Nicky Rod doesn't make it, to me, he's the safest bet this weekend to make it to the finals. The right side of the bracket is a lot more interesting. There's a lot of, there's a lot more talent, I think, and especially when you're looking at, we got William Tackett in the bottom right, but he's going against Sal Gabriel Rocha, who's one of the best dudes in this bracket. He is a monster. He almost beat Gordon Ryan a few years ago. People forget he's been out, or he just hasn't competed much the past few years, but he's one of the best. And then Felipe Andrew versus Daniel Kirkfleet, who huge unknown. And then obviously we got Victor Hugo at the top. I could see, like, if one of them were going to make it, it would definitely be Victor Hugo. I mean, something crazy would have to happen for Nicky Rod to not make it, in my mind. Just stylistic, especially stylistically, I can't see any of these dudes on the left beating Nicky Rod.
Would you say that the left side of the bracket is more physical?
When you're looking at especially this division, it really does. A lot of it just comes down to matchups. And there's a couple of these guys, like I think Felipe Andrew versus Nicky Rod would be very, very interesting. But I do agree, a lot of these guys like to stand up. You're talking about Owen Lively, Max Jimenez. All these guys do their best work. Pat Downey, Luke Rockhold. Most of these guys are going to want to be on top. And I think Nicky Rod holds a significant advantage over all of them. I think if Pat Downey could make it, like he could do well against Nicky Rod, but there's no way he beats Adam Bradley or Kyle Bayman that next round. I think he gets leg locked pretty easily in that matchup.
All right. I like all those takes. I can't believe that we're finally going to find out in 5 days and then 6 in the finals. So this is going to be crazy. We don't have time to talk about the super fights, but I'm sure you jiu-jitsu fans have been getting a lot of information on the super fight coverage. So thank you, Matt, for joining us. Everyone at home, just know that Matt was on his computer at 1 p.m. Pacific today, and I fucked up because we're in different time zones. So he moved his schedule around to be able to make this work.
I do have to make predictions real quick, though. So here are going to be my predictions. So for that under 80, I think we're going to see the brothers. One of them is going to have to avenge the other. And so last ADCC, we saw Ty Ruotolo lose to Josh Hinger first round. Obviously, Cade goes on that crazy run. I think it's going to be the opposite. I think Ty Ruotolo is taking home that $1 million. I think Cade is going to lose. I think it's going to be Ty Ruotolo versus Andrew Tackett in the finals, with Ty Ruotolo taking the money. Going to the upper, I still think it's going to be Nicky Rod versus Victor Hugo. And I think we're going to see Victor Hugo walk away with the $1 million. I think that one is a coin flip. Very, very close. But I like that. Obviously, I've got Craig Jones in the finals by leg lock against Gabby. And then I'll take Fiona Davies by submission. I think she's going to find a submission over the very talented Mackenzie Dern. Huge respect to Mackenzie Dern. Obviously, you've talked a lot about her, had her on. It was a phenomenal interview. But those are my predictions.
The conviction with which you speak makes me feel like you are 100% right. Those are some good takes. And I know that you can do some betting on shuffle.com. Craig bet $100,000 that he is going to be winning by leg lock. So I think there was a bunch of other things that he bet on as well that you guys can kind of look and compare to. Ty did say he had hurt his back against Joseph, so let's see how that goes. Yeah, Ty also injured himself against Felipe Pena at ADCC, so he recovered for that. All of these fighters are injured, basically. And I know Anato is dealing with arthritis and had his first real arthritis flare-up sometime in this fight camp. So all these guys are going through it. Wishing the best to all of them, because $1 million is life-changing money. Even if they don't get the $1 million, though, they could get a submission or performance of the night bonus thanks to the sponsors. So there's going to be plenty of action. The biggest weekend in submission grappling history. Matt, thank you so much for the time. And if you won the tickets, connect with me somehow online. Hopefully the screen shared and you guys saw who won. I think it was 1401 Joe or Egghead Warrior, who's not here right now. I'm a little offended, Egghead. And we will see you next time. Last live chat until after the event. But thank you guys for being Jiu-Jitsu nerds with us. And see you next time.